My husband and I were watching basketball finals. So I was kind of touchy-feely and I literally felt a lump. I checked under my arm and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
You may have seen her on the reality show Love and Marriage Huntsville. She was diagnosed with TNBC, and I'd like to welcome her here today, Mrs. Kimberlee Scott.
On the table, they said you need to come back and do a biopsy.
Just that quick.
Everything kind of went extremely quickly. This is one of the worst breast cancers you can have. It travels really fast. The doctor told me what we were gonna do. He wrote it and I literally just bawled. It was my husband that actually convinced me that I need to share it. I was thinking about it every day, thinking about what's gonna happen. And she said, there's gonna come a day when you don't think about it. That's all she said. It brought me to tears and that hit my heart.
Welcome to another episode of Sisters in Survivorship podcast. My name is Caleen Allen. I am Vice President of Sisters Network Incorporated, and we're so glad to have you here today. We have a very special guest. Many of you may have seen her on the reality show Love and Marriage Huntsville. She shared her personal journey when she was diagnosed with TNBC, and I'd like to welcome her here today on Sisters in Survivorship podcast. Mrs. Kimberlee Scott. Kimberlee, thank you for coming all the way from Huntsville, Alabama to Houston, Texas. We appreciate you.
Anytime, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So, a lot of the viewers are familiar with you. You've been very vocal and very supportive of Sisters Network. I first encountered you when you blindly just reached out and said, hey, I want to make a donation to Sisters Network. And I recognized your name. And I said, are you from Love and Marriage Huntsville? He said, yes, I am.
Correct.
And I was just so appreciative that you didn't even mention that. You just wanted to just support. And so I thank you for that first and foremost. Let me say that.
You're welcome.
Take us back to when you were first diagnosed and, how you found out and that personal journey.
Wow. 2022, June of 2022 was my official diagnosis. And it came about, actually, my husband and I were watching basketball finals. As a nurse, I would do my breast exams. I went to my doctor's appointments, mammograms every year. I had gone in December of 2021 was my last doctor's visit. I go every December. And we were watching the finals in June. And it's a weird thing, I know. I like him touchy-feely. And so I was kind of touchy-feely, but no reason whatsoever, just watching the game. And I literally felt a lump just watching the game. And I was going like this, and I was like, that feels like a lump. And so I asked my husband, and I was like, babe, does this feel like a lump to you? And he got in there, and he started squeezing. I said, listen, friend. And so he was like, yeah, you might call a doctor, get that checked out. And I was like, okay. So the next day, I got up, called the doctor's office. They had to call me back. And in the meantime, because I am a nurse, I was sitting at the bar and I was like, let me check under my arm. Mm-hmm. And literally I checked under my arm and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I felt another lump under my arm.
Oh, wow.
And so they called me back and they got me in the next day. The next day I went in, I got a mammogram. On the table, they said, let's do an ultrasound. Mm-hmm. On the table, they said, you need to come back and do a biopsy.
Just that quick.
Yeah. And when I tell you, my physicians in Huntsville from that moment on did not dawdle. Everything kind of went extremely quickly. From me getting my port to me starting my treatments. I was diagnosed on June 22nd of 2022. I got my port, I got my MRIs, I got all my scans, I saw the surgeon, and I had my first chemo treatment July the 1st.
Okay. That was very fast.
It was extremely fast. Yes. It was extremely fast.
You were very blessed, and I believe it was TNBC, triple negative breast cancer.
100% correct. 100% correct. And so, being a nurse is kind of like that whole double-edged sword. You know the good, bad, and the ugly, you think. And so you're diagnosing yourself, your woe is me. I went through the whole why me, even when the lady called me on the phone, she said, it's Kimberlee, I'm calling Kimberlee. Is this Kimberlee Grant? I said, yeah, Kimberlee Grant Scott. And she said, yeah, she told me the diagnosis. I said, wait a minute. This is Kimberlee, Kimberlee. And she was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I know.
Wow.
And so I got my diagnosis over the phone.
Wow.
I was at home.
Were you alone or? No, that's hard.
Yeah. I was at home, but my husband was at work because he had to go to work. And so I was like, I'll be fine. I'll just wait for them to call me.
Sure.
And the longer it took, the more I was like, this might not be good. And they literally called me maybe 4:45. It was all day I waited. And so they called me about 4:45. And then after that, they just started setting up stuff. Different tests, different surgeons, different doctors, my physicians. I have the Streeter team. I have a lady, Caleen Streeter, is my surgeon. And Daniel Streeter is my oncologist. And he was just pleasantly, brutally honest. He was like, it's bad, girl. Like, this is one of the worst breast cancers you can have. It travels really fast.
Right.
I'm not surprised you went to the doctor in December. That doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
Because it goes quickly.
It goes quickly. And what stage was this?
Well, because I had 2, they kind of graded me like a 1B, 2A.
Okay.
Because they were less than 2 centimeters, both of them.
Okay.
However,
so that's not
I had
large, but you had 2.
Correct. Correct. If I would have just had 1, it would have been stage 1.
Gotcha.
But since I had 2, it literally, some paperwork said 1B, some said 2A.
Okay. Do you have a family history or?
I do.
Oh,
I
you
do. As a matter of fact, my grandmother's mother and my grandmother had breast cancer. However, they didn't have triple negative.
Okay.
And so when I did genetic testing, mine came back negative for family history, which is crazy because as I was finishing all of my treatment in 2023, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm
And
so sorry.
it's so crazy that all of our tests came back, no family history. Now I think hers was hormonal because hers was slower.
So like a HER2.
And so I think hers was like my grandmother's.
Okay.
I think I was the only one that had triple negative.
Okay.
So hers fell in line with my grandmother and my great grandmother.
Wow.
But mine's did not. Mine's was triple negative. And she did great. She
Good.
did great.
And
She
she's
was a
doing
stage
okay
1
now?
as well. She's doing wonderful.
Wonderful. That's
She's
good to
doing
hear.
wonderful. She didn't have to do chemo.
Okay.
I had to do, 22 rounds of chemo.
Oh, wow.
And 34, I think, of radiation.
Okay. So that was very intensive regimen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought my brain had wrapped around the treatment after the doctor told me what we were going to do. And when we sat down and he told me how many rounds of he wrote it like on the exam table, the little piece of paper on the table. He wrote it on the table. And I literally just bawled. I was just like, are you kidding? Like, really? It's like, yeah.
And so how long did it take you to complete that?
Well, midway through, I had some breathing issues that they thought was abnormal.
Okay.
And so every time I would say, well, I'm short of breath. Like I take off my clothes. My husband has to help me take my clothes off. Like, and they were looking at me like, okay, like that's not this. So they took me off of chemo for about a month.
Okay.
So it ended up taking me from July. I didn't finish until December. Like a week, maybe a week. First week of December, because I had my surgery the end of December. So yeah, it took me a little bit longer because I had to take a break for a little bit.
And stuff. And so, what went through your mind? Because you had a choice to make it public or not public.
Correct.
And what was in your rationale, why did you want to be public? And thank you for doing that, but why did you want to do it?
Well, the platform that I'm on just allows me to reach more people. And to be honest, by nature, believe it or not, I'm an introvert. And I could have very easily gone into my house. When COVID came and they said, stay home, I said, okay. Like, I was like,
don't tell me twice.
I was like, I ain't even got to make up an excuse to stay home. So I could have easily gone into my shell. And what I've learned in life is that every single thing that happens to me happens for a reason. Even if I don't know the reason at the time, everything happens for a reason. And I say that to say, I was June 2022, And in September of 21, I bought a dog for my husband. It was actually for me. But it was his birthday gift.
We won't tell him.
Right. It was his birthday gift. And so the dog being there at this time was for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know it at the time, but the dog being there was for me. We got married on the show. I was a late marriage. We dated 7 years. I got married late. My husband was meant for me, for this journey. And it was my husband that actually convinced me that I need to share it.
Okay.
You know, I'm on a reality show.
And this is your reality.
This is my reality. This is my reality. And so even the show gave me an option, you know, like,
to work around it.
What do you want to do? You know, what do you want to do? And he said, you need to tell. So I have to give credit where credit is due. It was 100%. I'm going to say 90 because I'm going to take a little bit. But it was his, he was like, you have to. You have to. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
I'm actually glad I did because I said at one point, if I can reach one person and help them go get a mammogram, walk with them, go with them, hold their hand, encourage them. That's my goal. I've done that 100 times over at this point.
Absolutely. I know when we first encountered, you were gracious enough to do an Instagram Live with me. And we had close to 1,000 young women on there. And there were so many young women that were, I'm 31, I'm 35, saying that they were, you know, survivors. And that's what we at the Organization of Sisters Network are trying to make sure that we educate, particularly young women under 40 right now, because the statistics are so staggering and deadly, that early detection is not a slogan. And knowing your family history and if you feel something and advocating for yourself is so important. And so, you know, using your platform like you have, like you said, you've reached so many people, and helping us reach more people with being on the podcast is going to be very valuable. So we thank you for that because, again, you didn't have to do it, but we thank your husband for giving you that nudge.
No push.
So I know you're probably active in your own community in Huntsville and whatever else you're doing. What kind of outreach are you doing on the breast health area?
Wow. And this is the thing. Before this, I was your typical, you know, Liz Hurley run, you know, donate to American Cancer Society, that kind of thing. But this just puts a stamp, a rubber stamp on it in regards to beefing up people's knowledge of the numbers, you know. So the very first year that I was diagnosed, my husband and I had started a nonprofit. We're both entrepreneurs. And so we wanted to do a nonprofit for entrepreneurs, helping them get on their feet, helping them do research in their area, business funding and those kind of things. And we had a couple of projects that we were going to do for events to raise money for them. And we decided to change gears. And so we started doing Bowling for Boobies, which is a fundraiser for breast cancer awareness. And that was when I reached out to you because I wanted to be able to give back to people that look like me, because the numbers that are stacked against us are crazy as far as we're not disproportionately affected because it plays no favorites. However, the people that don't actually make it all the time are more of us. And I needed to make sure that I was giving back to people that look like me, that are helping people that look like me.
Well, we thank you because that, you know, we use those funds towards our breast cancer assistance program, which helps women who are survivors around the nation, because it's in no one's budget, towards their rent, mortgage, or utility bills. And also we pay for mammograms or ultrasound for women who either are uninsured or underinsured. So those kind of donations that are unrestricted, we try to funnel towards that particular program. So it's very helpful.
100% agreed. So I keep going every year. And I can appreciate it. I mean, I really, really, really do appreciate it. Obviously, we give back to the American Cancer Society whenever they do things. I've been honored in their summer soirees before. I've done a commercial set for them as well this year in regards to putting an amplification in regards to African American women, just us in general, that they're actually trying to focus on a little bit more now as well. Also, anything that most of my events at this point kind of center around breast cancer awareness. Most of the speaking events that I am asked to do kind of center around breast cancer awareness. So I try to make as many as I possibly can.
I'm sure. What role, you talked about your husband being instrumental and obviously very supportive. Everybody doesn't have that. And so what would you say to the woman who doesn't have that level of support, family and friends, who's navigating such a difficult time?
Child, that almost made me cry. No, because I would hate that for somebody. No,
But
really.
it's real.
It's literally, girl, don't mess up my makeup. But no, seriously, that is like one of the biggest things that help pull me through is my husband, my family, my friends. You know, sometimes you have good days, you have bad days.
Sure.
And my husband would be one to attest to it, that some days on my bad days, I would have friends to come over. Most of them would come over unannounced because I always felt like I just kind of wanted to be by myself. You know, on the days where I had time to be alone and we weren't filming or whatever, I kind of just wanted to, you know, be on the patio with the dog.
Right.
As most of them came unannounced, and he would tell you 100% by the time they left, I was a different person. Literally a different person. Friends raise your spirits. That friends raise your spirits. The other caveat I wasn't expecting were fans. You know, we're in the world of social media and they can be brutal. Like they can just be ruthless in those comments. Boy, I call them like, you know, social media thugs. However, the people that reached out to me via fanship was unbelievable. The thing, I mean, flowers, t-shirts, hair oils, ribbons, socks, shoes, booties.
All kinds of goodies.
All kinds of things.
Nice.
That part was the most unexpected. And whenever I have the opportunity to thank that portion of my fan base, I can't say it enough because they don't know how many days they actually pulled me through. So for people who don't have that, my gosh, I don't, call me, DM me, like let me talk to you on an email, like anything that I could do to help a person in that space, because I don't even know what to suggest for people who don't have a support system.
Right.
Other than calling agencies, companies like your company.
Right.
Dang, that might be something to actually start, girl. Like maybe in my nonprofit, like you know how they take dogs and pets to like nursing homes and go visit people who don't have friends or family. That's like, it might be a thing.
Okay. Well, you know, it can be a mini sister network affiliate down there in Huntsville now.
Right.
You don't need to start nothing new.
She said, don't branch out.
So let's get back to a little bit more seriousness. Where did you find your strength?
Girl, that's Jesus. I'm God's girl. That's my nickname. And that was my nickname prior to this.
Okay.
Prior to this, because he's brought me through so many things that he didn't have to. Just literally just didn't have to. And I've always nicknamed myself. My husband teases me because I call myself God's girl. And so once I wrapped my head around my situation, because I have people that call me and they'll say, oh, you were so strong and you did so good. And I'm like, girl, I cry. Like I cry. Like it took me a minute to get myself together. It didn't make me feel like my faith was dashed because it took me by surprise and it took me a minute. I didn't just wake up the next morning like, whew, God is good. I'm going to be fine.
Right.
I didn't.
You struggled with it.
I struggled with it.
Yeah.
I struggled with it.
I recall watching the first episode when you revealed it, and in my gut, I knew you had TNBC before you even revealed it. I said, I'm so sorry this woman has TNBC. Yep. And I don't know why, but it was just a feeling. And as I watched some of your journey, and you were, you know, so very sharing and transparent, and even with losing care and that whole journey that so many women navigate, and you just still kept giving, and I was just in awe of the selflessness of it all.
Jesus, girl. It's Jesus. It's Jesus, because I know he takes care of me. I know that I've gone through stuff that maybe I didn't want to, that made me a better person, made me a stronger person. And this platform, I never would have thought I would have been on. Mm. This too was part of my journey that I just didn't know. It was something that I needed to fulfill. You know, people would ask me before this to speak at events. Mm-hmm. And I would say, for what? What am I going to talk about? Like, oh, you're a single mom and you did this. I said, there's lots of single moms, you know? And so once this came around, it was literally my aha moment. Mm. And I said, this is what I'm on the platform for. This is why it was afforded to me.
Wow. And so you're done with treatment.
I am.
That, you know, how do you keep yourself centered, you know, regarding, you know, just that you put that behind you? What keeps you going?
Everything. We got a lot of businesses. We got a lot of businesses. We got a lot of tenants, investment properties. Work keeps me going. My husband, my family. We have beautiful sons. You know, Jalen's 27. Monster just went to college. We dropped him off at Troy.
Okay.
Jesus, my family, my friends. I have way too much to live for to sit at home. You know, I have way too much to live for to sit at home. And that's some of the things that I discovered when, I guess, actually through COVID. Mm-hmm. Part of that was I'm usually the first person to say, yeah, I'm not going to make it. You know, the girls are like, we're going to go get some drinks after work. I'll be like, yeah, I'm already home, child.
No, you don't seem that way.
Really?
No, you exude like I'm there.
Once I'm there, I'm good.
It's getting there.
But getting there and going home, I'm just going to go home.
So you're a homebody.
Just going to go home. And I decided that I was going to try to not be that person because life is too short.
Yeah.
And my friends showed up big. And so I should be able to show up in the same fashion for smaller things.
That's wonderful. So what is your proudest moment through this survivorship journey thus far?
Proudest moment.
You can come back to that. What brings you joy?
Bringing me joy really is people that take time to sit down and reach out to me and tell me about their story and tell me that it was because of me. Like they saw my show and they thought something was wrong, but they really didn't want to go.
But it motivated them.
But it motivated them to go get a mammogram, and they actually found something. People that have reached out to me and said they were scared to go. And I literally try to email every single person back that reaches out to me. Wow. Every single one. And so there's been a couple that said, you know, I said, go, like, don't do that. What is not going to accomplish? Go. And so there's been a couple that actually went after we spoke via email and call me back and tell me their story. Those are joyful moments for me.
That's good.
Those are joyful moments for me. And I guess they could kind of fit in the proud moments too, you know, just kind of making it across that finish line was a thing because I got pretty sick during the chemo treatment.
Sure.
So just kind of making it, you know, being there for my family and my family being there for me. The way that they showed up, like my husband went to every single treatment, child. My husband said right here by my feet while my feet was in them buckets of ice and hands in ice and sitting there getting that IV. So that made me proud. Like the people that I have chosen to have in my life made me proud.
And what gives you hope?
We can do it. We can do it. Life, love, Jesus, just my spirituality gives me hope for everybody. And the fight to keep trying to figure out how we can change the numbers, how we can make this face look different, you know? What are some of the things to catch it earlier? You know, we know early detection, but we need more than that. Like these markers, genetic markers and all those kind of things. I know when they did mine, even though I said I had negative for genetic, they all actually said that there is a non-specific. And I said, well, what's that? And they said, well, no. But it tends to keep showing up in people with triple negative. So they're starting to track whatever this little gene is.
Okay.
It was they labeled it for me non-specific.
Okay.
So things like that can kind of give us a, heads up.
Yeah, heads up. And so you are still keeping, I'm sure, up on all your screenings.
Oh, absolutely. My doctors, they get tired of me, man. Like, I call for anything. I go to every single one. I did end up having a lung issue.
From one of the medicines or something?
No, actually, they said it's myositis. It's an autoimmune disorder.
Okay.
And here again, because I go to Vanderbilt, and they said that it is disproportionately affected to African-American women.
I mean, but we're disproportionately on everything.
And it's terrible. But they said it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Oh.
They said what's weird is that they really don't know what happened first. But a lot of people who end up with triple negative end up with myositis and vice versa.
Okay.
And so right around COVID time, I did get COVID and I couldn't breathe. My whole family had body aches and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, what is wrong? And so in hindsight, after we pulled all the numbers, they feel like I've had the myositis for a while. Okay. And if somebody would have caught the myositis earlier, they might have tracked me getting breast cancer a little sooner.
Were you under 40? You were
No.
You were under.
I'm 50.
Oh, you were 50.
Yeah.
Oh, girl, go on now. I see you. Okay, so you don't fit the criteria of the
younger generation,
but still, you were up on your mammograms and being in the medical field, you knew the importance.
Yep.
So it's something that we can't talk about enough.
I agree.
And that's one of the reasons we decided to launch this podcast, just as another means of meeting people where they are, another means of communication. Because we want to just try to penetrate the community as much as we can with people that they can resonate with, to understand our call to action, that we have to stop the silence so Black women can beat the odds. And back in 2021, we coined it as a Black breast cancer crisis. When we have this many Black women dying of breast cancer, Sisters Network went out on a limb and called it a crisis because we're the pioneer in the Black breast cancer movement, and we felt like it was our responsibility, if it wasn't a popular term, to take the hit.
I like it.
And to ring the alarm so that the medical community and some of the work that we're doing can take even a higher sense of urgency by calling it a crisis. Because when there's a crisis, you treat it a little differently than when it's a problem. A problem versus a crisis have different strategies. And we are committed to doing everything that we can to save our sisters' lives and to be there to support them in the various cities that we're in, and to continue to expand our network. You know, our network is unique in terms of survivor-run chapters. And those ladies work very hard in their communities to be there for their sisters. And so, you know, you using your platform and making sure that women see a face of someone who's walked the journey, but now is on the other side, is so important because there is life after breast cancer.
That part.
Yeah. And so is there anything else you'd like to add?
I appreciate you asking me to be here, and I appreciate all the work that you all do. Anytime any person listening to this podcast can say a word of encouragement to somebody, say it. Say it. I had so many friends that were like, oh, we didn't know what to say, or we didn't know what to do. Anything. Say it. Anything. I had a lady stop me in the grocery store. I thought she was stalking me. She was walking around. When I came out, she was outside the grocery store. Waiting on me. And I was like, oh, child, what you want? And she looked at me and she said, there's going to come a day when you don't think about it every day. God bless you. And I'm telling you, in my journey, there's been a couple of things that hit my heart, and that hit my heart.
And she just said that and just excused herself?
Excused herself.
Oh.
And it brought me to tears because I was thinking about it every day. Thinking about it coming back, thinking about what's going to happen, thinking about, you know, and she said, there's going to come a day when you don't think about it every day. And that's all she said. She didn't say anything in the grocery store. Hey, Kimmy, Love and Marriage, Huntsville girl. She didn't say anything. That's all she said. That's all she said. And early in my journey, another lady told me, she said, give it to God and don't take it back. And they all run together to me. You know, like you'll say, I believe, I believe, I believe. And then you worry all day. And she said, give it to the Lord and don't take it back.
Well, that's what we're going to do.
That part.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome anytime.
The motivation working in oncology is easy. I think we all have a family member or a friend that's affected by cancer, and you just know the toll that takes on not only that person, but their family.
While I might not today be in one of those situations where I desperately need a medicine for someone I care about, millions of people are all over the world in that exact situation. Like, we are the people who make those things.
No shortcuts, no compromises. We discovering, we identifying, we applying cutting-edge technologies and the methodologies in our daily work. Whether I can improve with new technology, doing something faster, I'm always trying to get better in every experiment that I'm running.
I think we constantly have to be pushing those boundaries, not just so that we can stay at the forefront as a science and technology company.
Being bold with ideas can really help us make breakthroughs and bring us step closer to discovering effective treatments for patients.